Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar here at Magaya. My name is Alfred. I'm the Director of Marketing Ops, but this afternoon I'll also be your webinar moderator. I'm joined by two incredible people. We'll start with Gus, who is our Senior Solution Specialist for Strategic Accounts here at Magaya. That was a mouthful of a title. All right, Gus, we'll go ahead and we'll start with you. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and all the magic that you make happen here day to day at Magaya.
Hey, Alfred. Happy to be here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. As Alfred mentioned, my title is Consultant for Strategic Accounts. I've been with Magaya for about 10 years. So my role is, in few words, I listen to our prospects or actual customers, understand their pain points, needs, and I transfer that into Magaya solutions.
That's fantastic. We're also joined by an extra special guest, the one and only Sean, who is the president and CEO of WTDC. WTDC is one of Magaya's longest customers, and we've had an incredible 20-plus year-long relationship. So, Sean, can you share a little bit about what your life is like at WTDC?
Well, thank you very much for the extra special. Yes, we have been long partners with Magaya, and we love Magaya very much. So WTDC, we are a foreign trade zone logistics company. My current role is a president and CEO. And what my job is to make sure that the vision of the company and the vision, and then we're rolling everything out. We like to have a 10-year, 5-year, and 3-year strategy. So basically the role is not to be complacent, implement technology wherever we can, become more efficient, benefit our employees better and better as we can. And yeah, I'm excited for this.
We're excited to have you, and we're honestly super excited that you've taken Magaya along for the ride with WTDC. So I always love launching these webinars with an icebreaker. I just feel like it level sets, it makes the mood great. So when the weather, and by the way, this is completely unscripted for everyone that's on here, so my poor guests don't know what's coming. So when the weather reaches 90 on the thermostat, what are you guys blasting over the speaker? I need to know the tunes. It could be a guilty pleasure. Doesn't matter if it's current, if it's old. So Gus, I'll go with, actually, you know what? Curveball. Sean, tell me, what are you blasting in the summer?
Oh, wow. Thanks for that curveball. I haven't played baseball in a while, but I think my summer, fall, winter, spring, because I love this song, I would say The Killers, Mr. Brightside. That's just a song that a lot of great memories. It gets me that positive energy, just gets me excited, and yeah.
Yeah, you cannot go wrong with a killer song. That is a solid choice, Sean. And Gus, you have a high bar to reach to. So tell me, what are you blasting?
Well, I've been blasting lately Aerosmith, Dream On. So
classic. Oh, yeah, no.
Very good. That's a good one.
Big. That Steven Tyler, you can never go wrong with Steven Tyler.
Right.
And I right now I'm just with everyone else. I'm on the same bandwagon. I've just been playing Chapel Rowan, so it's going to be hot to go for me on this time. So that's going to be Alfred's song of the summer 2024. So now that we got that out of the way, let's actually talk about what we're going to be breaking down during this webinar. And it's going to be the most impactful ways that you can leverage warehouse automation so you can grab those quick wins, boost your accuracy and efficiency, and ultimately what everyone is in it for, your profitability. This is also going to be a unique webinar in the sense that we're going to be having a show and tell situation, since we are going to go over conceptually some ideas and solutions that Magaya offers. But in addition to that, and this is where Sean comes in, we're also going to be sharing some real world results from our customer WTDC. So I encourage everyone to go ahead, sit back and enjoy the ride. But before we continue, I am getting a little bit ahead of myself. You've been now within this console for a little bit, and let's take a quick tour of it. So first up, we have our media player, and you should see these buttons highlighted. We'll be living here for the remainder of the webinar. We also have our slides, so you can go ahead and follow along with us. The related content, which contains everything from helpful links to guides to collaterals to even a copy of today's slides so you can take home. There you go. That's your door prize for today. The Q&A portion as well. Make sure to drop those questions in there as we go along so that when we do get to the Q&A portion, we can get those answered for you. Under presenters, you're going to see our bios, mine, Gus's, and Sean's as well. And then poll questions. We're going to go ahead and launch those during the course of the webinar. You don't have to worry about anything. They'll show up on the screen. And lastly, you can also get a demo, and that's where you can reach out to us for a more in-depth demo of anything that you've seen today that you like that's tailored to your needs. The other cool thing is that you can adjust these modules on your console, make them bigger, make them smaller, do whatever it is that you want. We love a good remix. So now that we've already gone through that, let's go ahead and let's level set. And we've been doing these webinars for a while, and it always helps to take a look at the current state of the industry. And that way we can level set and then take a look during the second half of what it's like going forward. Now, Gus, you are an expert when it comes to keeping your finger on the pulse. What is the state of the industry?
Thank you, Alfred. That's always on point on these webinars. Well, Alfred, it's nothing new that automation driven by COVID-19 pandemic, has firmly established itself as indispensable part of the industry, right? That means automation, that means digitalization of the processes in any company, right? So supply chain automation tools empower logistics service providers to navigate uncertainties while maintaining the flow of their business operations and products, all this with minimal human intervention. Of course, all this comes with the keyword investing. So investing in a new software solution has its costs, right? However, sticking to outdated or inadequate, and I love this word inadequate, yes, freight forwarding software carries hidden expenses, right? Shrinking profit margins, compromising customer service, and at the end of the day, reducing your productivity as a company. So why not finding the right solution that will deliver the most significant, lasting impact to your company, right? Think about it this way. If you are doing some work at home, renewing a bedroom, what will happen if you start doing this without the proper tools? It's going to take you much longer time. It's going to be, causing some errors in the measuring of the doors or name it. And all this is going to end up in having an unsafe environment and outcomes. So long story short, the same logic applies, to freight management systems or warehouse management systems, like if you're striving to run a thriving and competitive business without the right software tools, this is going to be ending up in a bad note.
And I honestly love the analogy that you presented there, Gus. Who amongst us hasn't had a home renovation? I actually have some going on right now. So if you don't have the proper tools, you're never going to get anything done. So if it's for something as simple as, relatively speaking, simple as renovating a portion of your home, what about your business with all its complexities and all the moving parts that it has? If you don't have the right tools, you're going to be kind of dead in the water. I know that you mentioned that there were a bunch of challenges that some warehouses experience when they don't have automation. So can you walk us through those?
Of course. And this is something that we've seen every day, or at least I've seen this every day for the past 10 years, either way, as a sales part team that I was, and I was a consultant, right? So I think the first one is going to be definitely high labor cost. This is definitely one of the most talk about, because whenever you don't have automation in a warehouse, you rely heavily on manual labor. So that means you have more people on the floor. What is going to cost is going to cost a lot of traffic. A lot of traffic is going to cost some point, maybe an accident, right? So whenever you have to do picking, packing, sorting, and inventory management, leading into a solution that is going to allow you to automate and control this is going to be I think the most important part on controlling your high labor cost.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Now, Now we're on the warehouse floor. What will be next? The order management, order inaccuracies. What happened is like a lot of people don't see that we are human working in, in an environment that is with
Stressful.
heavy.
It's yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what happened? Whenever you walk in a warehouse, everybody here will not let me lie. Everything looks the same. So what happened when you are told to go move a box that looks exactly like the other 800 boxes that you have? You create those order inaccuracies. So a lot of people say, well, yeah, it was just a box. What happened with that box is a high value item. And you send that box with a high value item to a different location, and then you cannot retrieve that back. So not only you lost a high value item, you damage the relationship with your customer, and now you're going to be having to pay for that product that you sent to a different place, and that is going to be always hurting your pocket. So I think order management or order inaccuracies are like one of the biggest one happening in the warehouse without automation. From there, I will go to slow response to demand. Here, you need to think that without the real data on real time, what is going to happen is like your warehouse may struggle to adapt quickly to the fluctuation in demand and leading to either overstock or stockouts. You have to have complete visibility of your warehouse, what is coming in, what is being staged, and for how long is being staged, and when it's going to be going out. And this is going to be part of another point that is going to be efficiency and speed. So whenever you know what is in your warehouse and you can provide this visibility to your customer, this is going to allow you to be more efficient on the release of that cargo or the management of that cargo, and with the speed that you release that cargo out of your warehouse. So what this is going to help you with is with the sixth, point on this conversation. This is going to be space utilization. How many times you have cargo in your warehouse for so long that is just taking space, and the worst part about this is like you're not even charging for that, because honestly, sometimes you don't even know you have it there.
Gus, do you mind if I jump in for a second?
Sean, please. Yeah, it's like I'd say, like, you're not gonna let me lie.
I was about to say, when it comes to space utilization, I think Sean wants to talk about this one.
It's funny because when you're talking about these 6 points, I'm thinking of the years 2000, 2001, 2002. Before, of course, we had Magaya. We had another warehouse management system that wasn't as robust as Magaya. And that back then, all the air cargo cutoffs were Friday, let's say at 6 o'clock. So what would happen is Friday at noon, when we receive all the shipments, by then, we would receive all the releases from our customers, would create the cargo releases. It was called something else, but cargo releases. And it was time to pick the orders. Of course, with that previous warehouse management system, we didn't have a location. We weren't scanning. Everything was all over the place. So, oh my gosh, I'm just so thankful for Magaya, because at that moment, it was, all the warehouse employees, all of the customer service team, get a release and just, get the boxes. And imagine the labor, we're talking about labor costs. So why would someone in the office be picking orders in the warehouse? And of course, there's overtime, order inaccuracies. If something doesn't have a warehouse receipt label and isn't scanned into its locations, of course, the potential of you picking another brown box will be high. Slow response to demand. I mean, if you have time frames with your customers, you're not going to meet those time frames. Scalability, you're not going to be able to grow if you're stuck, right? You're not going to be fast. And space, I remember before, this is the craziest, I can't even believe this concept, is that we would have like a rack for a customer. And even though if we received cargo for another customer, but that rack was full, we would put it on the floor. Or if that customer didn't have any cargo, we'll keep it empty. It was a completely different mindset. And thankfully with Magaya, the past 20 years, we've been able to grow and become more efficient. But I just remembered that those Fridays, of course,
you're having PTSD, those war flashbacks, Sean.
Yeah. I don't know if the Killers was out either, so I couldn't even listen to Mr. Brightside, right? But it was wild, and this is completely different now. I mean, we're in the space age compared to what that was, but it really brought me back. It's incredible.
Yeah. Those were the stone and chisel days, my friend. You know, they were just
Pretty
whittling
much,
away on
Flintstones.
Friday. There you go. So that actually brings us to the first poll question of the webinar, and it went in perfectly. Let's take the pulse of what some of our attendees are going through. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you face when considering automation for your warehouse? I mean, there has to be a reason why you haven't implemented it. Is it because of high initial investment costs, you know, complexity of integrating new systems with existing operations? Because we all know what happens when you try to stick a square peg in a round hole. Lack of skilled personnel to manage and maintain the automation technology. That's another one that's kind of tied in with the labor costs. Concerns about the downtime during the transition period. That's a super valid one, because ultimately, if you don't have a system running your warehouse, then that means there's no money coming in and there's no money in your pocket. And then lastly, the difficulty in identifying the right automation solutions for specific needs, which hopefully, if you stay until the end of this, we will solve that one. So let's go ahead and let's give our attendees the opportunity to go ahead and answer these. Now, these directly correlate to the 6 points that Gus and Sean were just talking about a second ago.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
By the way, they're all great points.
Yeah. Did you, by any chance, have to bribe anyone on those Fridays to stay until all those? I mean, I could use a good bribe ever so often. So
I mean, there was definitely a lot of colada, coffee and etc. being thrown around.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, the colada will definitely get anyone to do all those cargo releases. Okay. So let's see here. It seems like the number one result is high initial investment cost. Sean, Gus, with you guys, does that answer seem like it's on par, it's on pace?
The high initial investment cost, yes. As the CEO of a company, I definitely would be concerned, right, with the upfront cost. But what you need to analyze and understand is that the return of investment, and I'm sure you could calculate that easily. Just the anecdote that I just said to what we're doing today, it's incredible, right? So definitely the return of investment will be quick, and you're going to be able to expand your business. You're going to become more efficient. And that's our story. That's WTD's story. We're able to grow the business because of Magaya.
And I mean, that's the old adage, right? You have to invest money to make even more money. And I think WTDC has been able to do that in spades. All right, so enough of the level setting, enough of the state of the industry. We've talked about all the bad stuff. So Gus, go ahead and start telling us the good news, man. So how can warehouse providers get ahead of these issues? What should they do? What should they be looking out for?
That's a great next topic, Alfred. And I just want to point out, like Sean just mentioned to this, is investment. The reality nowadays is like investing in a good software or warehouse management software in this case is just not about improving current operations or like being on like, oh, I'm doing what everybody else is doing. Is about future proofing your business. We're not going back. Like everything is going digital, right? So it's gonna help you as markets become more competitive and customer expectations rise, because we are in the Amazon era, right? Everybody wants information now. I want it
now,
today,
quick.
tomorrow on my phone. So having an automated, efficient software is going to allow you to be more scalable at the warehouse level operations. So this is going to be a key component for your company to stay ahead. Now, automation enhances speed and productivity for all the workers in the warehouse, right? It's going to help you reduce costs associated with the labor and the operational expenses that you normally will have in this type of environment. And the most important part, like we need to keep in mind that it's going to help you reducing human errors. Everything that is done in pen and paper nowadays is going at some point create a human error.
Exactly. No, absolutely. And it's so easy to misplace something, especially when you have shipments coming in and out and everything. It could become a perfect storm for an instance where you can lose something. Now, the next slide that we're about to go into, this is actually my favorite slide of the presentation. And the reason why it's because Danny, who is our incredible multimedia person that's behind the scenes taking care of all this stuff right now, when she showed me this slide, I said, this is going to melt some faces off. And the reason why it's because that's a huge statistic. 96% of industry leaders consider innovation essential for growth. And it's funny because innovation has become kind of a buzzword, but it really isn't, especially not when it comes to supply chain management, because it means you have to go beyond new ideas and technologies, which are both great, but it's really about investing in the change that can improve service levels and costs to customers. Plus, on top of that, true innovation allows a company to redefine the rules of the game. Companies like WTDC, they're taking their thinking out of the box, they're innovating, and that's the reason why they're becoming more and more successful. Now, this is tied into labor, and I know that was one of the pain points that we mentioned. A lot of the people on the webinar, labor is the biggest cost associated with your business. So what are some automation strategies that could help reduce that?
Well, Alfred, as we mentioned earlier, whenever we have that many people on the floor and everybody knows how a warehouse floor looks, it's going to lead to some sort of control chaos, if you want to call it like that. So, what automation can significantly reduce labor costs by minimizing the need of manual data entry. That again, if you have 20 people doing this manually, like everything is going to look different. Everything is going to look different, right? So
there's no standardization amongst 20 people. It's impossible.
Exactly. This is what is going to bring, first thing in. So it's going to change the manual data entry and the physical inventory checks to do it in an automated way. It's going to reduce the human error in the warehouse process, and this is going to lower the costs associated with returns. Like I mentioned at the beginning, when you ship the wrong cargo to the wrong address, even if it's a domestic, error. Imagine if this is an international. So it's not just the cost of bringing it back; it's the cost of your customer will not trust you anymore. So having automation.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It's on.
I mean, just the example that I said regarding having everyone in the warehouse, and you touched on it. I mean, not only would you have to, if you misship a box, have to send the box. You would have to, pay additional overtime, etc. It's not only about that; it's about the trust of the customer. But I think one thing that's very important to mention is that it's not about reducing headcount. We do know that labor cost is very expensive, and once you start implementing on this technology, employees might get a little concerned. In WTDC's case, the objective is to make their lives better, make it more efficient, so that we can give a better customer service. Thankfully, with Magaya's help, a lot of our customers, we have EDI, electronic data interface, where their system and our system, we communicate automatically without having to do any manual entry. So what does our customer team do? Our customer service team is either generating reports or picking up the phone and offer additional services that we give. It's like, hey, I know that we do the U.S. Customs documentation and also the warehousing, foreign trades and warehousing for you. But by the way, we're also a freight forwarder and licensed MDOCC and indirect air carrier, just in case if you want to use those services. So it's not only our customer service being a data entry person, which in the past, I think customer service was related to data entry. That's not where we are today. We have to remove that data entry and provide a niche boutique service, because that's how you have to be. That's how we're going to be competitive moving forward.
And that's such a great point, Sean. And I'm so glad that you brought it up, because ultimately, at the end of the day, I think as humans, we kind of, whenever we hear innovation, we hear automation. See, it was the same thing with digitization. I knew I was going to go ahead and mess that one up. But whenever any of those things are mentioned, I think it's human nature to think, oh, well, here comes a machine to take over my job, cue the Matrix, Skynet soundtrack in the background. And it's not the case at all. It's on the contrary, we want to use these automations and these machines to make our employees and our coworkers' lives better, So that way they don't have to do that manual data entry, just repetitive time after time. They can use their skills to, have personalized outreach, to talk to customers. So it's perfect. I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because it's true. It's the knee jerk reaction. And a lot of these freight forwarders are like family. So it's just like, I can't consider that I'm going to get rid of my forklift operator. It's like, you don't have to, like, pump the brakes. That's not what we're talking about at all. You're going to make it even better for the forklift operator so he can enjoy his cafecito and his colada. So, and that's a big thing. The next thing I think is order accuracy. And that's a huge part, because like we mentioned, you can ruin a relationship with one of your customers in the blink of an eye.
That is correct, Alfred. And I think this aligns perfectly with what Sean just shared with us. Like order accuracy, it's part of your day-to-day on the warehouse floor, right? So automated system will use advanced technologies, like in our case, barcoding, scanning, that allows them to, whenever you have that reception, create your own label with a barcode that is going to tell whenever you have to do that picking to go to the right location. And that location will have a barcode too that will allow you to make sure that you're pulling from the right location. So we start implementing these layers, if you want to call it, of safety nets that will help your team on the floor to do their job, the best way possible, right? What this is going to happen is, like, they're going to start doing that picking or that inventory, like moving into the warehouse with high accuracy. Is going to reduce their errors, and is going to improve the order fulfillment rates at the same time. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Sean,
let me tell you that. Yeah, for sure. I'm jumping in because I love barcode scanning. I'm sorry. As a foreign trade zone, as you know, we report our numbers to U.S. Customs, and we need to be 100% in compliance with the documentation with U.S. Customs. By Magaya and assigning tasks within the system, we're able to see the actual flow of the scanning, right? So we could receive, scan. Well, right now we're talking about orders, so we'll stick to picking, but the picking and the accuracy. So using Magaya, we're able to create the cargo release. We send our employee to the location. The location has the Magaya label with the warehouse receipt number. We also print a part number because we pull inventory. So the inventory item definition list, the part number is on the pallet. So you have the location, the warehouse receipt number, the part number, and then obviously you're looking at the boxes, and you pick the quantity and you scan them to staging area. We're not, last year, thankfully, we were able to manage a lot of inventory through our foreign trade zone. We would not be able to manage that inventory, which exceeds $500 million, without Magaya's infrastructure.
That's incredible. That is insane.
Or at least me sleeping at night. At least me sleeping at night, right?
There you go. And I mean, here's one of the things that I wanted to mention. Gus at some point said, everyone's here with the Amazon effect. And it's true. You want to go ahead and make a purchase, and it's afterwards. You have to have a quick response. So,
Alfred, again, that mentality that we have been raised in the past 5 years is just like what everybody expects right now. Now imagine you want to have this at the warehouse level, right? Something that you're going to be able to do is have real visibility of what you have on the floor, not just internally, as Sean could attest for that, but it's for our customer. That is the important part of this. Like, they're going to be able to have full visibility of whatever they have on the warehouse, because our solution is going to allow them to internally have full visibility on restock numbers. If they hit the number that they need to have 10 pieces at the warehouse and they already reached 9, the system will create an alert for the customer, an alert for the warehouse manager. And our solutions is going to allow them to actually put a PO to restock that part. So it's real-time visibility and real-time action at the warehouse floor. So this is going to reduce that risk of stockouts or overstock, if it could be the case.
That's perfect. And I think that ties into, there you go, limited scalability.
Definitely, Alfred. Sometimes when we talk about warehousing, we just think, oh, well, it's just I receive, I storage, and I release. It can be bigger than that. right? It can be bigger than that because you're going to be able to outgrow your operation. Somebody can knock your door and say, like, can you handle inventory by part numbers, by SKUs? Can you handle hazardous materials? Everything can be done. So this is going to open a whole new window for your company to expand your business. So having a system that add this type of workflows is going to allow your company to stop that limited scalability that we're talking about. Now, efficiency and speed. I think like if we think about the past 4 points, this is one of the main points that is going to bring to, when you have a great team on the warehouse, things are going to flow. We all know that. You need to trust the people that you have on the warehouse floor. Now imagine giving them the right tools to operate that warehouse floor instead of going back and forward to the office with notepads. Like a good WMS will automate the repetitive task. It's going to reduce the manual labor and minimize the errors that can happen by doing this manually. What this is going to happen is it's going to lead us to a faster picking, packing, and shipping process. And if we consider the previous 4 points, you're going to be doing this faster and reducing the error as you do this. Well, I like this slide. Travel time in a warehouse can account for up to 50% of the picking time. That is true. Without automation, workers will have to do all this manually. They will have to select the transport items across the facility, which is time consuming and is going to be prone to errors. Like whenever we can do this in an automated form, a good technology solution will automate this task. Sean, how you are doing this in your warehouse? Can you speak to this, like 50% of reduced time?
Gus, one thing that's hilarious and it's funny that this is here. So WTDC, not only do we offer the services that we've talked about, we also offer consulting services. Right. So WTDC currently is assisting a company lay out their warehouse, identify a warehouse management system, of course, Magaya, and other things, right? So the owners of the warehouse.
That was a plug right there.
No, they are though. The owners of the warehouse, they were all about pallet positions, and us as operators are like, wait a second, it doesn't make sense to have a rack from the entrance of the warehouse to the back of the warehouse with a little gap in the back. I told them you need to have in the middle of the warehouse an aisle. So they were kind of against it, but they went with it. The forklift operators, a couple of weeks later, were saying, you guys don't understand how much time we're saving off of putting that aisle down the middle of the racks, because they would have to go all the way down, all the way around. It was, this is just, to me, it's funny that this slide is here because it just happened. We were just having this conversation the other day.
That's the spirit of innovation. Sometimes people are just dead set in their ways. And until there's someone like a Sean that says, listen, you are doing this with a stone and chisel. Listen to me. I'm about to put you on a jetliner. You just don't do it. You just don't do it. So I'm sure that they're going to be eternally grateful once they start seeing their picking time increase exponentially. So with space utilization, this is another thing, because Magaya offers so much visibility into how you're using your warehouse. And not only that, how to manage that space effectively. And Gus, I know that you're a huge fan of space utilization. So
yes,
you
Alfred,
can talk about this one.
Of course, as I post on my LinkedIn promoting this webinar, time is money, but in a warehouse, space is money too, right? So, automated system can optimize warehouse space by utilizing vertical storage solutions, right? And like Sean mentioned, the right layout design will give you everything on the warehouse floor. It's going to bring the speed of the warehouse people picking and loading, and of course, it's going to reduce that amount of aisles or empty space that you have. But the most important part of that space utilization is you can automate to charge for it. So many times, and I've seen this many times over 15 years 10 with Magaya, 5, in the industry. people don't charge for the space. And in the warehouse, that's what you do. Magaya
Big
will
mistake.
allow you to take care of automatic charges per day, per week, recurring invoicing. So whenever you go and take real, pay real attention to this, is going to be a game changer, not just for you as a user of Magaya, but for your customer as well. So Sean, what do
Yeah.
you think about this one?
I mean, I could talk on this slide for hours as a warehouse, right? But you have to have the thought process that, let's think of an airplane, and you want to fill each seat within that airplane, right? And do you want to charge first class or do you want to charge economy, right? So it all boils down to the service that you provide. But using operationally the location systems that Magaya offers, you could really optimize and make your warehouse much more efficient. I know that our operations manager, on a daily or even twice a day, they try to see how many pallets are on the floor, where can we put away these pallets, and how long is it taking for our employees to put away these pallets? Because there's nothing worse than operating a warehouse and having pallets in the aisles, right? So this is an incredible management tool, and yeah, we loved it. We love it.
No, absolutely. And going back to the original question, yeah, it's going to be first class all the way, Sean. It's the only way to fly.
That's right.
All right, so we've officially reached the midpoint, and we wanted to go ahead and hit you with another poll question. So, which aspect of the warehouse automation do you find the most difficult to implement? Now, these were a couple of the ones that we just went over. Now, it's inventory management and tracking. That's your first option. Order picking and packing processes, automated guided vehicles, AGVs, and robotics, which are incredibly exciting. And if you have some of those, you are already at the vanguard of innovation. Data collection and analytics for process optimization, and then ensuring safety and compliance with automation systems. So go ahead. Right now, you should see that poll question live on your console. Answer it, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to go over the results. And now, as if you remember, during my introduction slide, I mentioned that this was going to be kind of a show and tell webinar. We've officially gone through the show portion of it, so now the tell portion. We're going to go to the show one. So we're giving one more second there, and perfect. It seems like the biggest one was the automation portion of the inventory tracking and management. So what do you guys think about that one? Did you think that was going to be? And then data collection and analytics for process optimization. Did you think that was going to be the number one?
That one, to me, it's data collection and analytics. I mean, we were just talking about locations and storage spaces. One thing that I forgot to mention is, with Magaya, you can see slow movers, right? So we have had customers that you land an account and it's like, oh yeah, the inventory is going to be in and out within 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden you have in Magaya, 2 weeks turns into 2 months, 3 months. So that's when you go to your customer. Our agreement was that the inventory rotate every two weeks, but it's not rotating every 2 weeks. So I need to charge you X more because that wasn't our agreement. So with Magaya, and that's only on locations, you could do so many additional things that you could go back and really analyze the customer. In our case, we have actually made our customers more efficient by identifying slow movers, reducing the inventory of the slow movers, increasing the inventory of the fast movers, and helping them do their forecasts. They go to me, wait a second, you don't even work for my company. I'm like, yeah, I know, but if inventory is turning into my warehouse, it's better, right? So of course you need this item, but for whatever happens, but I want more of this item that's rotating. So we've helped them, and data is key.
Yeah, no, because ultimately you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't have the data, then you can't action on it. And that's perfect, because if you didn't have the visibility into who's taking long, who are your slow guys, then you wouldn't be able to go ahead and adjust your premium and what you're charging them accordingly. That's visibility 101, I guess, which is fantastic. So I know that this is an abundance of information, and right now we want to make your life easier so we can digest it. And I will say that this is absolutely the first time we've been doing this. I've been moderating a ton of webinars for Magaya. This is my first rodeo, but this is the first time that we have someone from outside the company that's going to be joining and sharing all of his insights and his knowledge. You've heard Sean speak throughout the presentation today. We've mentioned that Sean has been a customer of Magaya for close to 20 years. That is a very long relationship. Now, I know we have a couple of the scripted questions, Sean, that we want to go ahead and ask you. But before we get into those, I just want to hear straight from you, like what it's been like to use Magaya at WTDC for these past 20 something years. I mean, you were with us during our infancy. We've had growing pains together, but we've also had massive successes. So what was it like?
I mean, it's been incredible. I've made some incredible relationships with the team over at Magaya, and just I really say that WTDC's growth is I'm thankful for Magaya because it's really helped me become the company that we are today, and my growth within the company actually have grown with Magaya because, as you may know, but I don't know if the people that are on here know, we are a family company. I'm third generation CEO of WTDC. I remember graduating from FIU, International School of Business. By the way, I'm on the FIU Alumni Board of Directors, so pause up to any FIU alumni out there.
There you go. Go Panthers.
Yeah, go Panthers. So, but I remember coming to work the first day, shirt and tie, looking like a business student or graduate at that point. And my father says to me, all right, tomorrow, wear a t-shirt, shorts, and tennis shoes. And I'm thinking to myself, what am I gonna do that for?
Oh no.
The first year, I was inside 40-foot, 20-foot containers, unloading floor-loaded containers, boxes. I was like, oh boy. The following year, I got a promotion. I was a forklift operator. I felt like, oh, this is amazing. The third year, I was in receiving, weighing, and measuring, understanding TSA protocols, understanding U.S. Customs protocols. Why do I need to weigh and measure? Why is it important to weigh and measure? After that, I was a warehouse supervisor, and then I went into the office where I started doing data entry, customer service supervisor, and then marketing, sales, accounting. So as I'm doing this, I'm of course using the platform of Magaya, and I'm really understanding the way that everything is interconnected, whether there's ops, accounting, freight forwarding, sales and marketing, all, creating forecasts for our customers I just talked about. So that's why I feel like our growth is part of because of Magaya, and I've really understood the platform. I'm so thankful. And that's why when you guys come out with new things, like we always listen to them. Does it make sense for us? Yes or no? And let's do it. And let's pull the trigger. So I mean, we really, really love Magaya. As you said, there are bumps and bruises throughout the years. We were a beta site for the warehouse management system. So we helped each other. We bounced ideas off each other. And it's been great. Only positive things.
That's fantastic. So you've officially can say that you've pretty much touched every single aspect of our software. But in that case, and this one's maybe you'll have to pull back from all the years working. By the way, your dad telling you that the next day you needed to come in shorts and a t-shirt is absolutely wicked behavior. That man said he's going to sweat out that FIU business degree that I just paid for.
Yeah,
he really did.
It was fun. Not really, but yeah.
Not really, but yeah. But can you tell us about an instance where Magaya itself, the solution, exceeded your expectations or really got you out of a bind because of something that we were able to provide?
So definitely the moment, something that comes to mind, WTDC, we manage the inventory for a memory foam mattress company. And back in 2015, Groupon, the flash sales was a big platform for a lot of suppliers, manufacturers to put their products on. So this specific company made mattresses specific for that Groupon sale. They have 6 warehouses throughout the United States: Miami, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, LA, and Texas. And everyone had inventory. The Groupon sale went online, and the item that sold were the 10-inch queen mattresses. So imagine, it's like 4:55 p.m. And who has all the 10-inch queen mattresses in the United States of America? It's WTDC. Oh my gosh. So at 4:55, it's about 5 o'clock. Everyone is, getting ready to clock out or, turn their computers off. We get a phone call from the CEO of the company. He calls me. He says, Sean, we have good news and bad news. I'm like, okay. we just sold 4,000 orders of our product on Groupon. I'm like, that's great. From which warehouse?
Fantastic.
The bad news. The bad news.
It's
from your
all
warehouse.
you.
So what the work that entails is, of course, you got to pull the orders, but you need to create the cargo releases, and it's like a mattress, so it's one unit per order, right? So you create the cargo releases, and then we had to create the FedEx labels from the FedEx ship manager. So after speaking to my friends at Magaya and figuring it out, we made certain custom fields where we generated the cargo releases that night. We worked all night, and we imported the commodity list into FedEx Ship Manager to pump out all the labels. That the following day at noon, FedEx put the trailers on our dock, and we loaded all those orders out. So yeah, we didn't sleep very much, and I'm very thankful to all of our employees that drank Red Bull, drank coffee, drank whatever, but we got the job done. Meanwhile, other warehouses, they just shut down. And of course, we're on the East Coast time. We're like, California's 3 hours behind us. They could still work, right? But we just got the job done. Thankfully for Magaya, that we were able to export that commodity list from Magaya and import it into FedEx Ship Manager and pump out all those labels, because without that, then we wouldn't have been able to. And there's cutoffs, and there's fines if you don't meet those cutoffs. So it was that is definitely a story that now with that customer, we have EDI, right? So we don't have to manually generate cargo releases. We don't have to generate the FedEx labels, but that was definitely a learning lesson.
That's incredible. And I can't even begin to imagine what 5,000 mattresses even looks like in a warehouse. That must have been insane. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy, but they're vacuum packed into the stretch wrap in boxes. So the boxes they're heavy, they're dense, but they're not very big. But yeah, it's a lot of boxes. It's a lot of boxes.
I can imagine.
But it was a great learning experience, and it was just a moment to get, and we see each other as partners, WTDC's perspective to Magaya. So it was really a moment to figure this thing out together and work as partners.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that story with us. And now going back, because one of the main products that you probably leveraged, well, not probably, that you definitely leveraged, was the Magaya Supply Chain. And Gus, this is your bailiwick, so to speak. You talk about Magaya Supply Chain day in and day out. I think that when we were doing the run through, you referred to this as your baby, quote unquote. I don't know if I remember hearing that. Sean, do you remember hearing that?
Well, yeah, I remember that. He was going like this and everything.
He was cradling at some point. Now everyone on the webinar knows.
It's just like, this is our first approach, and what I like to talk about supply chain is it's holistic, it's all integrated, right? So whenever we talk about supply chain at the warehouse level, it's like we talked with Sean, it's like, either way, you have a warehouse operation that is going to evolve into freight forwarding or domestic shipment, or vice versa. So the great thing about this process is, like, Magaya Supply Chain will allow you to immediately recollect the data. It's going to allow you to, from the moment that the cargo arrives, create the warehouse reception. You don't have to, write it down, take it to an office, and transcribe that. That's gonna lead to errors, right? If you add to that point that you're going to be able to take pictures of the cargo, and this is something that I always tell, to our prospects and actual customers that decide to go into the usage of, how our solutions work, is like, that is going to be your insurance policy, taking the pictures of the cargo as it arrives, and it's going to open the door to your customer of transparency. So that's a trust builder, like, you receive the cargo, you create the warehouse receipt, you print the label, you take pictures, and your customer can see that in real time. And if we can add to that we have another set of tools that will allow this automation to be fast and is going to make it precise, you have everything in supply chain. Now, from the release of the cargo, like I said, if you're going to be doing like domestic shipments, you receive, you store it, you charge for storage, and from there you create a cargo release. Your cargo can be linked to a domestic shipment from right there. And if this cargo is part of your inventory, management operation, the numbers are going to be real for your customer as soon as that cargo leaves your warehouse. So supply chain is like this 180 degrees, like full scope of operation, like based on what I've seen, like, and Sean can add to this based on his experience, like
Yeah.
your company is gonna evolve. So I want people to understand that Magaya is a one-stop solution. You go in for one part of your operation, be assured that Magaya will support you as you keep growing. So we limit that. Oh, it's not scalable. Magaya will take you to the next level.
Yeah, and what, if you don't mind, one
No,
talking
no.
point that I really, the last check of cloud-based infrastructure. So WTDC, we're part of a National Warehousing Association, and at this year's meeting, annual meeting, they announced that every 6 seconds, a logistics company is pinged for ransomware, attacked for ransomware. Unfortunately, in June, WTDC, our infrastructure was compromised and we were hit with ransomware. Thankfully, years ago, we listened to Magaya and our IT company that, listen, it's great to have a server and you're safe with a server, but what you need to do and to step it up is to have your cloud-based storage. So I think it was actually Nomar. Nomar did one of these. He's like, dude, do it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it.
That seems like
So
Nomar.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that June 1st, what happened? The local data on our computer, like maybe a picture or something on someone's computer, was compromised, but we were able to log on to Magaya Cloud. We were able to log on to our emails, Microsoft Cloud. We were able to log on to our real data that we need via the cloud that we have for that. So the only downtime that we had was to reactivate our Wi-Fi, and within 1 hour, we were up and running after an attack. Unfortunately, some of our friends in the 3PL warehousing industry, they have been hit and they've had to pay this ransomware. But luckily, and this goes back to that first question that we had regarding, yeah, it's scary to do that investment. But, and this is one that cloud-based is like, oh, I have a server, I'm paying nothing for it, and I'm now gonna have to pay for the cloud. It's like, no,
Right.
this is, trust me, when you turn on your computer in the morning and all of a sudden everything is characters and it says ransomware, and it's a time clock, and every time it reaches an hour the money goes up, it's like, okay, well, I wish I
It's
did that
real.
cloud. It's real. And this isn't movies, it's actually happening. So I'm not trying to scare people, but please if you don't have it, just take a look at that service that Magaya offers, and it's really a no-brainer. Just lock it in, and and you don't realize, honestly, guys, you don't realize how important data is. Your inventory, your charges, your rates, your lanes, what customs documentation, whatever it is, it's extremely important. It's just as important as the inventory in your warehouse almost, right? So that cloud-based infrastructure is, I would like put that bold, increase the font, like that. Everything's important, but
Flashing
that one, man.
lights on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
pretty much the insurance policy for your Magaya supply chain, which is super important because you want to make sure that you're up and running and operational. But now when it
Yeah,
comes to
by the way, you mentioned insurance, that there
yeah,
is ransomware insurance. So I don't know if you want to try to hit the lottery on that one, but that's already taken, unfortunately.
man, that's what I was planning on retiring on. Now I have to go back to webinar moderating instead of
There you go.
ransomware insurance. But when it comes to speed and efficiency, there's another one, and this is the darling of Magaya. Everyone loves the Dimensioner. Everyone, as soon as we talk about it, has hard eyes. So, Gus, tell us a little bit about her.
Well, Dimensioner, man, what can I tell you about Dimensioner? I love that Dimensioner brings the wow factor to the conversation. I've been able to be in a couple implementation of the Dimensioner here in Houston, and the first thing is like is going to allow the customer to capture and save the dimensions, weight, and take pictures of the cargo in less than 2 minutes. So you can say like, okay, yeah, 2 minutes. That's not the most valuable part of the dimensioner, right? The most valuable part of the dimensioner is like we rely on humans or people to do the measurement of the cargo, right? And the flip side of doing this manually is like honestly, there is like not an exact measurement. right? So what happened when you don't measure correctly? Well, at the end of the day, when like your cargo is being charged by weight, dims, and measures, like you're losing money. So the wow factor doesn't come whenever they put the pallet on the weight and it takes the pictures and this measure with a laser. It comes when they realize that they're losing 15% of their actual revenue per pallet. So we go to a like an average number. They're losing about $40 per pallet whenever they're measuring manually. So imagine a company that is handling 100, 500 pallets per day. That's money in their pockets, you know. So this is why I say like the wow factor is not just the tool that we provide them with, is the actual fact that they realize like they were losing a lot of money.
No, absolutely. It's funny that you mentioned that because we actually had an event that marketing did. And in the event, we had a team of people with a tape measure. And then afterwards, they would place the pallet on top of the dimensioner. And every single time, not only were they taking the dimensions wrong or they weren't accurate dimensions, but they were also taking a lot longer than what they would do with the dimensioner because you get size, weights, dims, pictures, everything within seconds. And it was really fun. And it was such a successful event that we've actually decided that we're going to do it again. So keep your eyes open in your inbox because that should be the invite for that should be coming out soon. Shameless plug right there.
This, if you don't mind,
yeah, jump
the
in, Sean.
Dimensioner is incredible, right? So the first word, or actually two words that come to mind is cost savings, right? So cost savings. So first of all, the cost savings on efficiency. You know, you have an employee that goes to weigh a pallet. They put the pallet on the scale. They take out a, measuring tape, length, width, height. Their buddy, the truck driver, is there. He's like, "Oh, he brought me a coffee," or "Hey, what's going on?" You chat on the water cooler. There's nothing wrong with that, but let's be efficient. So the time that you're saving on that specific task, it's incredible. Secondly, as a indirect air carrier, air freight, that like you mentioned, everyone measures things differently, right? And as you know, air freight's by weight or volume. So in some instances, an employee could put, instead of 48 by 40, they put 84 by 40, or something is done incorrectly, so that when you send the shipment to the airline, all of a sudden the airline says, "Oh, you have the wrong weight dimensions. You have to change the airway bill. You might miss the flight." So that's real money right there and customer confidence. So the Dimensioner is another product that is incredible. Not only that, but the pictures that you get, right? So let's say something arrives at destination and they're like, "Oh, it's missing XYZ," and you have the picture. It's like, "Oh, it should be in the bottom right of the pallet. Here it is." It's like, "Oh, okay, I didn't see it," right? So whatever it is, it's incredible. It's incredible.
No, it's honestly our most popular product, and once people get it, they can't imagine how they lived without it. Kind of like this next product that Gus is going to walk us through.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we go back to one of the main topics at the beginning of this webinar, right? Like we are in a digital era, right? So everything is moving to mobile devices. And anybody that has been in a warehouse or have been working in a warehouse with handhelds know that we used to operate with this massive Star Wars kind of look-alike, pistols, right? That not only are really expensive, right? The sad part about those is like they're no longer supported by the manufacturers. So what we're doing with Flow WMS by Magaya is we're transferring that functionality to an app. And that app can be installed in your iPhone or your Android, or you can have a Zebra handheld. And this is going to bring two things. The first one that I want to point out is like you're going to be able to operate a handheld with a cellular contract data. So you're going to be able to forget at some point about like putting like replicators for the Wi-Fi or the dead zones in the warehouse for the Wi-Fi. You're going to be able to operate with Wi-Fi as well. And the great thing about this is like if the Wi-Fi is gone, our solution will save the data that you already collected and it's going to connect to the cellular data package that you have, and it's going to allow you to keep working. And it's going to save that information that you put in initially, right? And the other thing is the cost. Truth is like you can have a very nice functional phone that is going to cost you less than $300 with an amazing camera. So this brings to my second point. Your team is going to be able to build the reception on the spot, take pictures, add notes, assign locations to the cargo from these, from the mobile device. So this is going to be a time saver. Is going to be definitely a game changer because everything is going to be done on the moment that they're receiving the cargo. And of course, you're going to have this data in your supply chain, and this is going to allow you, like Sean mentioned, have visibility of reports, pictures, custom fields, anything that you require for this process.
All within the power of inside of your pocket. Well, we're at time right now, and I wanted to go ahead and thank Gus and Sean so much for all their insight. This has been quite possibly my favorite webinar. I also wanted to thank all of our attendees for coming out today. We will be reaching out via email. I also will be launching a quick survey for you to fill out, so if you have a minute to spare before you go. But I wanted to go ahead and thank you one more time. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Gus. And thank you guys for joining us for all of your warehouse automation needs. And we'll see you at the next webinar. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.